Don't take my word for it. Look that mess up, please.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? KCE, King Chaka.
Educated and united public cannot be controlled. Get organized.
Learn to be active.
Looks like we got us another hit.
Oh, I made a mistake. I need to add my Rumble stream to the mix. So y'all give me a second. Let me do this. Oh.
And now, another
Yeah.
major production.
Yeah, I'm about to tell you what the real is. Deep down inside, you got to feel it. Emotions have the most number of killings. Pay close attention to your feelings. I'm about to tell you what the deal is. And when I'm talking, all I'm hearing is some crickets. Yeah, hurry honey, run and get your ticket. Just getting money, it's not always the business. Yeah, forget the $1 million mission. Sometimes I just want to go fishing instead of physically grinding in the trenches. Finding me using my knowledge, intuition. Yes. Yeah. Chaka not talking while he so distant. Yeah. Chaka be talking but they don't listen. Yeah. He's sitting, his brain pumping like a piston. I've been chasing the twilight, now I've been bitten. The city's in my sight as if I was a pigeon. Your role is cast. Your dialogue is written, it's past control. You're like a Sims minion, what to do now but roam around in and out of buildings. Seemingly living, touching ceilings, but there's no feeling. Willing and dealing, but really there's no winning. I'm sinning and sinning, so what I'm defending stuff's like prison, stuck in the life out of living. I'm about to tell you what the real is. Deep down inside, you got to feel it. Emotions have the most number of killings. Pay close attention to your feelings. I'm about to tell you what the deal is. And when I'm talking, all I'm hearing is some crickets. Yeah, hurry honey, run and get your ticket. Just getting money, it's not always the business. They say they do it for the money and the power. I'm just trying to get some peace in the shower. Protect what's mine without being a coward. Watch loved ones take time to breathe in the flowers. I've seen these G's get knee deep in powder because he needs to succeed in ours. Fuck your lifestyle, it's weak and it's sour. Fuck your lifestyle, it's weak and it's sour. Watch I come through and do like I do. Watch he come through and lose like he do. I'm a Hebrew, he just evil. We both hate people and church steeples. One thing certain, demons lurking. They be stressing, we be surfing. She be twerking and it look like it's hurting. I be perping, close the curtain.
Hey, how y'all doing out there? How y'all feel? Remember, an educated public cannot be controlled. Learn to be active. The views and events expressed here are not necessarily the views of anyone. ¿Cómo estás? Bien, bien, bien. Podemos ayudarnos más? Si se puede. And don't take my word for it. Look that mess up, please. Anyways, yeah, Ibrahim Traore, uh, the global south, the global north, the east, the west, the inspiration. Let's talk about it. I got my buddy here in the back. I'm gonna bring him in right now.
What's up,
What's
everybody?
up, Glenn?
Yeah, how
How
you
you
doing?
feeling?
Shit, chilling.
Yeah, man. Let me ask you, what introduced you to Abraham Traore? How did you get, what made you aware of him?
Man, I was sitting around chatting with a coworker one day, talking about how lost Africa was, and he was like, "Man, you full of shit. Have you heard about fucking Burkina Faso?" I said, "What you talking about?" He said, "Yo, man, this dude got a whole electric car working." I said, "That's bullshit. There ain't no way that's happening. A whole electric car in Africa being produced." He said, "Yeah, man, it's happening." So I looked it up, and I mean, I didn't find it on none of the main, news this and that's, but it was a bunch of those, little channels, and they were like, "Yo, he got it going." So, me, I'm skeptical. I did my research, and he's gotten pretty far along. I mean, I don't know if it's going to be a good product, but if he's got access to enough cobalt to make enough lithium batteries to make an electric car, man, I mean, it don't matter if that car work or not. He doing something.
Yeah, the way the West is covering him is really interesting. I um I wanted to see that, and I typed his name in before I started the show, and I was looking at the headlines. Let me see if I can see. Okay, here. First headline, it says Ibrahim Traore inside the digital cult glorifying Burkina Faso's something. That's the part of the thing. The Caribbean political scene and support for President Ibrahim Traore. Fact check: Serb anti-government protest falsely labeled French. Um, I can only see part of the headlines, but all three of those were kind of negative. Why Washington is worried about Burkina Faso's young president. Africa in Focus special. Why the white man wants to kill Ibrahim Traore. That came from Modern Ghana. That's a news organization. The first one was the Africa Repos, WEAEAA, Routers, Mint Press, in the order that I said them. Another one, it says disinformation fuels support for Burkina Faso's junta leader. The Serbian protest video falsely associated with pro Traore rally.
Yeah, it's strange. It's all
So
very strange. Well,
yeah,
I mean,
man. Go
they
ahead.
can make it they can make it as muddy as they want. But I mean, just a quick look at history and how things go. I mean, you already got to give it to him because the history is that if Africa try to do something by themselves, somebody somewhere in the rest of the world is going to try to stop them. So that's that's just granted, right? The thing is the thing to watch is like, okay, how and why did he do it? Because he's next to Mali, a country that had a horrible collapse. I don't even think it was too far ago. I'd have to look it up whether it was a decade or decades. But Mali was in trouble, had a weird thing going on. The fact that they're just north of some of the most like egregiously raped countries in that whole region, the Ivory Coast, Togo, all that. um it it's automatically a fuzzy topic. So I really don't know how to call it. However, I do know one thing and two for sure. If you've got a history of instability, the the only way you're going to prove it to the rest of the world is by holding on. Which I mean, not to jump, you know, too deep too fast, but that's why I think it's really interesting that he was keeping up with his promises, keeping up with his promises, keeping up with his promises until he postponed his elections. Like he had planned elections like in the late spring of last year, late spring, summer, early summer last year. He planned those. And the end result of that was nope, I'm gonna stay in control for 5 more years. And you know, it was a little
Yeah,
side
but
eye to it. But then what are you gonna
and
do when you oh go ahead.
I get why he did that, because that I noticed that too, and I was like, that's gonna be that's gonna not look good overall. But he was like, man, this is not a democracy, man. This is a revolution. Like I'm trying to bring stability to my people or whatever. And you see, they've already tried to coup him multiple times. So
Yeah.
what would have happened had they did have elections and somebody else came in there, and then the West got their little tentacles into the situation, and the whole thing could have went left. You know, the
Oh,
the
for
the
sure.
life of the people in Burkina Faso has continued to improve since Traore had got in there. So I think he made the right decision. I mean, once they're
Absolutely.
fortified and solid, because they're in the process of decolonization, and it's like that's a shaky ground. And we talk about all of these countries, and people say that, oh, they've already been decolonized. No, I mean, on paper, yes, but if the French still speak French as their official language, if the French are still in control of their resources, their gold, and so forth and so on, they're telling them what to do and how to live, how their culture should be. They're steadily extracting wealth. I mean, what's the difference between that and being a colony?
And they tried to kill him again last November.
Yeah,
I
he
mean,
had a
so yeah.
attempted coup just a week ago or so ago. The
Yeah,
guy
so
who one of his main bodyguards, they offered him, like, I don't know, it was a large sum of money in the millions of dollars.
8.7 million.
Yeah, so and he went directly and told Traore, hey, this is what's going on. And he was like, man, keep the money, you know? And he kept the money and split it up between him and the rest of the bodyguards. And it's like, your circle got to be tight in these times, that's how they got Thomas Sankara, you know? That's how
Yes.
they got him up out of there. They got up in his circle and got him up out of there, man. And it's about this whole thing that really, like, kind of triggers me a bit is when people always say, "Oh, these African countries, they just can't seem to get their stuff together." They have corrupt leaders, and they're greedy, and that's the reason why these countries are poor and da 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 da, because the leaders want to just hoard all the wealth and da 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 da. Funny how
Hey,
that's like the same argument they're trying to say the AFRICOM meeting or whatever, the American general guy who's all like, yeah, he's trying to hoard all the gold for himself to protect himself, da 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 da. It's the same freaking story. Like, they keep on saying this stuff, and it's like, wait a minute. So what about all of the times where these people try to, take care of their people and then they got assassinated? Are we factoring that into the equation when we talk about African countries, being corrupt or whatever? Like, yeah, I mean, yes, there's corrupt leaders in Africa. We got corrupt leaders over here in the United States. So,
I'm
but you
glad
don't
you
say
mentioned
that.
it.
You
I'm
don't
glad you
say that.
mentioned that because I mean, America's headed toward the same shit. we got what? We got Bezos, what Facebook Zuckerberg. We got Bezos, Zuckerberg, and Musk. I mean, that's about to be our uh that's about to be they are already listen here. Watch this. We got a bigger budget so we can hide the difference. But who's to really say? I mean, think about it. You live in a rich nation. Now, Burkina Faso is not a rich nation. They have resources. They can make it if they get if they can get their feet on the ground, they're going to make it. But we are a rich nation. 250, 200, almost 300 years old. And we still got people homeless in the streets. So, what's to say that the situation in America is any different? The corruption here is causing,
It,
if you look at it, it's causing a very similar skew in the resources of our nation. What is the real difference? We can't stop 10 people from owning half our shit. You take a small African nation like Burkina Faso, or or well, I mean, you'd need better numbers, but I'm sure you could find them. Take a small African nation and divvy it up, and maybe the leader of Liberia can't launch a rocket into space. Like all he can do is build a mansion while his people are hungry. But yeah, here in America, man, we got people that are like, three kids deep trying to raise Americans, and they don't know they don't know how they're gonna do it. And you got a dude launching a rocket into space for Katy Perry. What is the difference, bro? It's the corruption is here too. Just
so
hide it
yeah,
better.
and that's the connection that I really would like people to to focus on and understand. The people struggling in the West have way more in common with the people who are struggling in the East than they do with these billionaires. These people, we're about to have our first trillionaire soon, is what they're saying. We're on the edge of that. And that's like crazy. I don't think people really understand how much $1 trillion is, you know, like what they say, if it was a monkey hoarding all the bananas and the rest of the monkeys were starving, then we would examine that monkey and figure out what the hell was wrong with him. Like he's got some kind of psychological disorder, but over here we look at it like, that's what we aspire to be, uh billionaire, trillionaire, whatever. Like to me, that's really crazy, sociopathic, psychopathic.
It is crazy, dude. So like here, check this out. I put it I think we could give a good scale real quick. A million seconds is 277 hours. All right, hold on. Let's do it out. Let's do it out in years real quick. A million seconds is a day, basically. Now, a billion seconds is 31 years, dude. Watch this. A trillion seconds is 31,688 years. So yeah, man. I mean, million, trillion, billion, fucking ain't right. They don't compare. So how did we get from millionaire? I mean, like, how did we get from millionaires being carefree to motherfuckers even trying to be trillionaires?
And how did we get to the point where, like, in school, in elementary school, they teach you about the robber barons, right? The early 1900s.
Oh no, I
And
didn't learn about that in elementary school. I wish I
may-
had.
maybe it was middle school. It could have been, I'm sure it was before high school. where they talked about the robber barons and it, not being a good thing. How you had, people living in the skyscrapers, and right on the bottom you had people in the slums, you know, and those images came out because what happened was it was someone took some pictures. Somebody in the chat or whoever's listening can clear that up, but it was like they took some pictures and people saw it and the contrast, and it was like, this is crazy, and this ain't right or whatever, and we went through a phase here in the United States where we started to break up the monopolies and tax the wealthy and so forth and so on, and it led to a boom in the United States. And I think that, these cycles, they keep coming back around. We forget history and then we make the same mistakes and then we're in the same spot and then we have to make the same results. I mean, we have to make the same actions to lead to the same results. Then we forget again and then we do it all over again. And it's like, when are we going to learn,
I think in America we have the unique circumstance of a plural, incredibly plural population, man. Like the New Deal was cool until black people had houses, until Italians had houses. Like Italians just now got to be white, you know? And I mean if you go a few
Yeah,
generations before the 40s, man, white the fucking Irish people wasn't even white. So it's weird.
yeah,
But yeah, no, here in America, I think it's a little different because that New Deal, bro, we would have been Sweden by now if it weren't for the fact that there's so many different kinds of people here, and the white people here, the white racist people, let me make that distinction, didn't get
yeah,
so uptight about the fact that there was a city, like 20, 30 miles away that was mainly black people. Like they didn't even fuck with you. They were just over there, and you were like, I don't like that. And then the New Deal was a bad deal, and that, I mean, well, okay, it don't take that long,
yeah.
dude. What is the difference between the 50s and the 70s? No difference, except that you got 20 years of xenophobes. Well, not even xenophobes, because these people are your fucking neighbors. You got racists. You got 20 years of racists. They've had children, and they've seen their children not automatically win a little bit. They've seen their advantage dwindle a little bit, and they're just like, nope, fuck it, I want them all out. Everybody got to go. And then you get Nixon pretending like it's about the economy. Reduce the gold standard. Let's make the
Yeah.
money a
It's
toy.
they want to preserve this tiered system, and I mean, whenever you make the argument of universal health care or whatever, they're like, how are we going to pay for it? Like, they make all of these different excuses, to keep from going down that road. But it really comes down to, we don't want certain people to have these, you know, we don't want to be on the same level with these other folks. But
Well,
they'll
it's
never admit
it's
that out
crazy.
loud.
It's crazy how simple that boils down, because they're like, and I mean, I keep simplifying it to white, but what I mean is white racist when I say white. Um, they it's real simple. It doesn't have to be complicated, and we need to stop giving them so much credit, man. It comes down to, if I stack the deck, I can be one of them, and I don't want anybody else to have it. Yeah, I might not have it right now. It might be hard for me right now if I strip away all the public this and public that, but you know what? I'm white. I'm going to make it. I'm going to be rich, and I will not be one of them. But so I mean, like I said, it's real simple. They want to strip it all away because they think they are part of the club that's going to
Let me
thrive in that system.
and it's crazy because they're not really Let me play some of this right here.
This is a child working in a gold mine in Burkina Faso. Burkina Faso is one of the poorest nations in the world. For Burkina Faso, which has gold, France prints colonial currency. In return, it demands that 50% of everything Burkina Faso exports ends up in the coffers of the French treasury. The gold that this child crawls into a tunnel to extract mostly ends up in the coffers of the French state. So this is a child working in a gold mine. The solution is not to take Africans and move them to Europe. The solution is to free Africa from certain Europeans who exploit it and allow these people to live off what they have. This is called the CFA franc. Colonial currency. And by solution is not to.
You know, what is the quote, the Traore quote, where he's like, you know, they said Africa was poor, and then we told them to leave, and they didn't want to go, something like that. And it's like, you know, what's driving a lot of the politics across nations is related to like immigration, and then they're like, we don't want these people to come over to our country, and that's fair. That's fair enough. But at the same time, you don't want to let those people, you know, thrive in their own country. You know what I mean? You're extracting their resources, you're extracting their wealth, and then you're creating this problem that you have a huge problem with. Like that, you know, we don't want these people to come over here. Okay, stop destabilizing their countries. Stop extracting the wealth from their countries. I mean, they'll probably stay home. I mean, it's a real simple answer.
Actually, it's even more simple than that. I believe it is way more simple than that. It's money. It's there. Everything besides that is is a it's a fucking cart and pony show. That money
Mm,
is there, and those strong enough to take it will take it. Now, America has a populace that has the luxury of morals. And I want to say those words in that order again, the luxury of morals. Because think about how many times you've been sitting around a table at a little get together and dude or the girl that you're talking to is super cool. They super cool. They like everything they say is fly and they seem to have a pretty good like, look on the world. They know things. They're okay as a person by this conversation that you're having with them. But they go downstairs, after the party, and y'all not leaving together. You happen to be leaving within a few steps of them. Y'all get down to the first floor, and she go that way, he go that way, you go another way, and then you hear, oh, what's that you got there? Is that bread? And you hear a scuffle, and you see that same person come away with somebody else's bread. You didn't know they was that hungry, but they are. Now, that might be a clumsy way of making the point, but sometimes you can't afford your principles. And I think that happens to a lot of the nations of the planet, man.
yeah, everything's
Because I mean,
out the
like, think
window
about
when
it.
you're starving.
Exactly. Somebody come into my house right now and be like, "Hey, man, I know you're gonna have to go and buy another couch, and I know that you need somewhere to sit down tonight, but I'll give you $1,000 for that couch right now, and I'll give you $1,500 more if you don't buy another couch for a month." What are you
You're
gonna
gonna
do,
be
bro?
sitting on the floor.
You goddamn right you are. So it like I said, it's super simple. I always take it back down to the money. I don't believe in good and evil anymore. I believe in right and wrong, and I believe in pain and relief, and that's all there is to it. If you put an entire continent in
That's
pain, they're gonna look for relief. And if you got if you got I mean, and then another thing, I mean, if you're strong as fuck, you are strong as fuck. Nobody can do anything to you. Like even as much as you try to play nice, you're just like, I want that. Like it would look super good on my countertop right now. Like matter of fact, if I had that on my countertop, three of the women that I'm trying to talk to would come home with me tonight. You're gonna go get
Yeah,
it. You're
yeah.
going to go get it.
It's like a
And
fact of reality.
man, I'm trying to tell you, like America, we're only as evil as we are strong. If
Let me
Europe
read
was as
some.
oh, go for it.
Yeah, let me read some of these slides right quick. This one, it says Captain Ibrahim Traore of Burkina Faso stopped the export of unrefined gold to Europe, aiming to retain more value within the country. That's one of the factors why the West is trying to eliminate him. I just want to go through some of these slides. It says Ibrahim Traore wipes out all school fees in Burkina Faso. Education is now 100% free from primary to university. We don't even have that here. Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger to introduce new currency. And they also have a passport where they can move freely between those countries.
Yeah, I
It's
forget
really,
it's
really
Burkina
cool.
Faso and Mali, and I forgot the third one.
It's Niger.
Ah, Niger.
Niger.
Oh, go back to the
Uh,
first one though. Go back to the first one though, because I
what are you talking about?
the one before that.
Talking about the slide?
Yeah, that one right there.
Oh, okay.
So what does it say?
Uh,
Hold on. Let me big it
Burkina
up
Faso
here.
stopped the export of unrefined gold to Europe, aiming to retain more value within the country. So yeah, it's one of the first things early things he started doing, and he created manufacturing for it, so they can process the stuff themselves. He made gold bars, and he's been using that money to do the other stuff that has been happening later. You
So
know,
this is an excellent opportunity to bring it back to point, man. So to tie in with that strength, like a bully is not gonna push around. They're gonna push around the easy to push around. And man, Traore is trying to get. He's trying to get a listen. Like a lot of times they get up the oil rigs so they can sell the crude, right? Traore is building refineries.
yeah,
Like he's going to sell oil, like the gold stuff, right? He's building and this is honestly like this is my main test for Brahim Traore. If he if he says he's gonna get this rail network going in 18 months, I give him 3 years. If he has if he has a national rail system going by 2028, first of all, I think he's gonna be okay. Second of all, I might fuck around and move to fucking Burkina Faso.
yeah. He's just got to stay alive to be able to pull it off, man. And yeah, man, they making their own soap now. There's like it's real deal Holyfield. Let me read this right here. It says free childbirth for all mothers in Burkina Faso. Today I declare a new era of hope and compassion in our nation. Childbirth is a miracle, and no woman should face financial burdens while bringing life into the world. Ibrahim Traore. Another thing we don't have here. Let me read this slide here. It says we know how to mine our gold, and I don't understand why we are going to let multinationals come and mine it. In fact, we are going to withdraw mining permits. Yep, kick them out. Says Captain Ibrahim Traore shakes Africa again, unveiling 55 new modern hospitals. Yes, I remember it was a story about another country was talking about building mosques in Burkina Faso, and Ibrahim Traore was like, yeah, the mosques are cool or whatever, but we need hospitals, we need schools, you know, we need
Yeah, he
better
did that.
roads,
He did that.
so once we get those things, then maybe we could talk about getting some mosques. And it's crazy because it's like that with when foreign nations want to help you or whatever, they give you stuff that's not really useful. It's like Haiti comes to mind. They built like this big, huge monument in Haiti, like really beautiful monument or whatever. And it's like, how the hell is that going to help the people? Like they starving, like they need food, they need industry, they need jobs. Like you're going to build a
All right.
beautiful monument.
Now,
Like,
I don't mean to derail the conversation too much, but bro, I mean, I know we've been alive a little bit. Like, we're not exactly youngsters, but it ain't exact. I mean, like, it ain't exactly a long time when you think about it that we've been alive. And how many times has that country been rocked by an
yeah,
earthquake? I mean, maybe they should just leave. I mean, like
nah,
Haiti is hard to talk about. Haiti is real hard to talk about because it's like it's
yeah,
if I, real talk, real talk. If I was in Haiti as a child and I had a family there as a young adult, I got a couple kids. I done seen two earthquakes already, bro. I'm leaving. I'm leaving.
yeah. These people, they don't have the means to leave, and I don't want to get derailed with Haiti because that's a whole thing that I'm super passionate about and would like to educate people about. But I've done a lot of shows on them already, and it really is the same story. It's the story related to extraction. You know, Haiti is cursed because they had the gall to be the first successful slave revolt, in the Western Hemisphere, and that's what they've been paying for time and time again. Like this has been natural occurrences, natural disasters, but natural disasters happen all over the earth, and the countries recover. Haiti has, there's some more factors on top of the natural disasters that keep them in the position that they're in, like Cuba. But anyways, let's move on. Let me read this slide right here. It says the Burkina Faso leader has told the Western world, especially France, that they wouldn't be given the chance to temper. I guess they meant to say tamper with gold reserves in the country again. He also built a gold refinery to process its gold rather than taking it to the West. I'm just going to read these slides. Burkina Faso bans colonial wigs in courts to embrace cultural identity. Yeah, man. Why you want to keep on identifying with your the people who colonized you? He changed the official language too, from French to don't give me the line about the official language. Let me
Hold
read
on,
some
I
more. It
got you.
says,
I'll find it.
we will mine our gold ourselves, not for France, but for people. Are these going to be repetitive? Free childbirth. We got the Burkina Faso makes history with its first electric car, fully developed by local manufacturer Itawa, marking a major technological breakthrough. That's what you mentioned earlier. That's crazy.
Yeah, man, he did that.
Let me read the caption. It says, in this 2019 viral clip, Giorgia Meloni, the Prime Minister of Italy, holds up a CFA franc banknote, describing it as colonial currency that France printed for 14 African countries, including Burkina Faso, and used it to exploit the resources of these nations until now. Since assuming power in September 2022, Captain Ibrahim Traore has implemented a series of significant reforms and initiatives in Burkina Faso, including clear Burkina Faso of external debt of 4.7 billion, currency initiative, initiated plans for a new regional currency to replace the CFA franc, promoting economic independence, inaugurated a state-of-the-art gold mine to enhance local processing capabilities, free education, declared education free for all citizens, covering levels from primary to university, emergency medical services, launched the Emergency Medical Assistance Service to provide free emergency health care nationwide, established 2 tomato processing plants, the first in the country, built the nation's second cotton processing plant, and opened the first national support center for artisanal cotton processing. Dairy industry, opened Burkina Faso's first dairy factory, produced a range of dairy products. Automotive industry, inaugurated the country's first electric car brand and assembly plant, reduced salaries of ministries and parliamentarians by 30%, increased salaries of civil servants by 50%, paid off local debts by stabilizing the economy, banned the wearing of British legal wigs and gowns in local courts, replacing them with traditional Burkinabe attire to promote cultural identity, formed the Alliance of Sahel States, the AES, with Mali and Niger, aiming to strengthen regional cooperation and reduce Western influence, created 25 rapid intervention battalions to enhance mobility and effectiveness against insurgents, expelled French troops and diplomats, introduced new farming program for prisoners. Yeah, so the prisoners they grow the food.
Hey, but you know what? On top of that, though,
That's a
he's also invested in the mechanization of it. So not only is he putting prisoners in the field, he making their work easier. Like, no, I mean, I can't lie, man. I mean, he seems to be the real deal, especially since from what I saw through my research, man, he first of all he been doing it like he's 34 now. And he was a private in that army at 20 years old. Like he's their Eisenhower. He is their
it's
like
crazy.
he's their George Washington, man.
This
He
first
really
one was
is. He's set up to be that for real. Like if as long as he don't crumble or turn out to be a fraud, this is going to be it's going to be a sincerely Mandela-esque story. The
yeah,
only
it's
thing
it's
he didn't.
inspiring. It's inspiring the other nations, and that's the reason why he's so dangerous to the West, is because other nations in Africa are following his lead, and it's bringing them together, and it's inspiring them to kick out the colonials and handle their own business and stuff like that, and that's the real threat that he represents. Like this first one, it says clear Burkina Faso's external debt of 4.7 billion. And see, people hopefully they can understand like the IMF and the World Bank is another way that they control these countries. They put them in debt and then they tell them to put in austerity measures. You got to pay us back this debt. So whatever money you make, we telling you how you can spend it. And that means, you can't spend it on schools and roads and education, healthcare, stuff that helps your people. You got to spend that money in ways that's going to benefit you paying down this debt and basically benefit us. And that is the main way to control these people from afar, what people don't really understand. And it's about private industry. So that's another part that I think people don't really understand. Private corporations coming in there and extracting the resources, and then they call it capitalism or whatever, but it's really just colonialism, neo-colonialism,
For sure. For sure. You say you don't get you started on Haiti. Don't get me started on the capital, the corporation. Like I think the simple fact that you can give a company the same rights as a human being, like that's flat out evil. And I tell you what, let's just mark that as something that Glenn said, and we'll die on that hill.
Yeah.
If you make corporation illegal, a lot of this shit'll go away. Oh, but you know what though? Some weird shit. Like just a little tidbit, man. Okay, you know how long Mandela was in prison?
20 something years.
27 years. You know how long it was between Tuareg's birth and what was the other guy? Sakara? His
Tw-
death?
20 something years, about the same age
And nah,
as
it was 27 years, bro. It was the same
yeah.
shit. And then Cobain died when he was 27. So did Jimi Hendrix, man. So, it might be a magic number. I don't really believe in those, but it was just something that jumped out to me.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw something like that too, right before I did this show, and they was talking about the reincarnation of Thomas Sankara and Ibrahim Traore. But
Yeah,
looking at
which
it,
is a little bit nutty, but
you want to look at the big picture, anyways. You want to wonder why did they kill Gaddafi? And
well,
I
I mean
was
that's obvious, ain't it?
it's obvious now, but when I was younger, I believed the stuff that they were saying about Gaddafi. And
Well, I mean they killed Gaddafi when we were like children, right?
well,
What was that? Like the mid 90s?
man, don't give me the line on the date of the death of
I'm a,
Gaddafi, but I
I'll look it up.
I didn't I believe the stories that they told, and it's like no historical figure is perfect. Like nobody is
Oh my
everybody
gosh,
is good and
it
bad
was
at the same time.
dude. It
When
was
was it?
2011.
2011.
Yeah,
Yeah.
my dumb
So,
ass.
but still, you know,
That dude
it
was
was
our age.
by the time they killed him. But before that, but before that, I believed the stories that they told. Like he's killing his own people. Da 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 da. The same story that they tell. And then as I get older and I realize, I'm like, well, why do you care so much? Like you really care about these people in Africa? Like you really care if their leader is killing their people? Like that kind of thing is happening all over the world still to this day. So that is not your motivation for taking this guy out because you care about those people. Like that part of it is
Yeah.
hard to believe. You know
Nah.
what I
Yeah.
mean? Like no,
No. That whole lie is deader than fried chicken. As soon as you walk out downtown and you see a whole camp of people just in tents under a bridge.
yeah, you really care. Come on, bro. You don't even care about the people in the United States. You're telling me you care about these people over there in a whole other part of the world, like on the other side of the planet. Like,
In
get
their
all the way the
hearts
F out of here with that
are
BS.
angels.
Would somebody think of the children? you
Whoa,
know,
bro.
so but yeah, but I didn't understand it though in the past, and I believed it, the stuff that they said, and I don't know, it just comes back around to Abraham Traore because now they're saying the same thing about him. They're saying that he's using the gold to protect himself or whatever. He's oppressing the people or whatever, and it's
Well,
like, come
shit,
on, bro.
man. When you protecting yourself from $8 million assassination attempts, you better put some gold in your pocket. But I tell you what, I'll bring it right back up, man. If he get that rail system up, if he get those refineries up, and he's still alive, I ain't mad at what he did with a now scrap of that gold. I just can't be. How you gonna make it
I
happen, man?
want to I want to play a little bit of this video. And as I'm playing it, just tell me when you want me to stop and make comments. Just go ahead and jump in there.
All right.
When people talk about a Patrice Lumumba or a Kwame Nkrumah, for example, or Thomas Sankara, or even Sukarno, they always say that they were ahead of their time. But that's not true. They weren't ahead of their time. They were not revolutionary thinkers, if you know what I mean. They were just incredibly astute, mature, sensible men with a very crisp utopian in their visions. They just understood and identified exactly what had been done to Africa and what was being done to Africa. And they understood exactly what liberated. If they had been leaders in the West, no one would have called them revolutionary or even visionary. They just would have been regarded as logical, sound, rational of economics and politics and basic fairness. I'm not saying this to slight them, not at all. I'm saying this to emphasize the heinous criminality of the Western power structure and how
Stop
it has
right there.
dealt with Africa. Because if you were a leader in Africa in the 1950s, the 1960s,
Go
the
ahead.
70s.
Nah, yeah, pause them, because I think right there is, I mean, for louder for people in the back, man. That's just a calibration. He is saying outright that, I mean, what you're thinking about these people is in the right direction, except your compass is off. They just, it's common sense. You calling it visionary because it's in Africa, a place that's been beat the fuck up so bad that somebody that actually might look at it and be like, hold on, stop. This bullshit is ahead of their time. Whereas, let's say this shit was happening in Nebraska and somebody was like, hold on, stop. This is bullshit. The rest of the country would be like, yeah, yeah, you're right. That's bullshit. But it's Burkina Faso, or it's the Congo. So everybody's like, "Oh, he's a revolutionary." This man is exactly right, dude. Please press play.
Yeah. Well, the Congo is still a mess, and you know,
Rwanda, bro. That's for later. But oh my God, right?
yeah. So, but it's for the same reasons. And those resources that they have in the Congo are so important to the modern society. Like, we wouldn't have a lot of the stuff that we have. Trump made the deal with Ukraine for those rare earth minerals. So, and that's kind of related to the Congo in a way, also because, you know, and also having to do with the tariffs, because China is another place where you can get those rare earth minerals, and China has the manufacturing capacity related to the chips and the magnets and so forth, and so we still going to have that problem related to the manufacturing, because nobody, as far as I know, I don't think anyone else can compete with China when it comes to the manufacturing those chips and the magnets. So,
Man,
but
you
it's
know who's doing the manufacturing? That's why everything. I mean, dude, we could go for days, but just real quick, China actually is having a difficulty developing that technology, and that's why they're fucking with Taiwan right now.
well,
Taiwan is the guys that can make chips.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's the reason why we care about Taiwan. There goes the thing where we're all like, "Oh, China is beating up on Taiwan. We gotta come and protect them. We gotta save them. They deserve to have their sovereignty or whatever. They're a different country from China. Da 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 da. Let's make sure that they're good. Like we really care. You know what I mean?
It's the
Nah,
chip.
it's the
It's the chip.
chips. Let me play this.
Or the 80s, and you had a sound mind, a rational mind, you had an understanding of politics and economics, and you had an understanding of what's required for sovereignty and fairness, well, that made you a revolutionary, calling for pursuing basic fairness and sovereignty and independence for an African leader, saying things and doing things and implementing policies that for your nation constituted rebellion. No, they weren't ahead of their time. Time refused to advance. Time was being held back, especially in Africa. The West, Europe, the UK, and America refused to allow Africa to exist in the present day. Not just Africa, of course, all across the global South. But nowhere was this more the case than in Africa. You understand? I pointed out before, more than once, relationships between countries, between continents evolve and develop and change over time. We've seen drastic changes in international relationships in just the last 20 years. In fact, we've seen drastic changes in just the last 4 or 5 years. Even the last 100 days, to be honest. But the West's relationship with Africa has remained essentially the same for 1,000 years. Subjugation and extraction, looting and pillage. So for Lumumba or Nkrumah, it was the 1960s, but for the West, it was still the 1860s, the 1760s, the 1660s. For the West, Africa was frozen in time, and they kept it frozen in time by force. They kept it frozen in time by violence, by assassination, by coups, by invasions, and by hostage governments and collaborators. They kept it frozen in time by predatory lending, by neoliberal policy coercion, by manufactured debt and abusive trade policies. When they can't send soldiers, they send consultants. So no, those great leaders weren't ahead of their time. The West stopped time in Africa. And understand this, when you arrest the forward movement of a people, when you stop them in time like that, you're not just stealing their wealth, you're stealing their future. You're
Stop
robbing
right
them
there.
of possibility. You're burying
Right there, man.
generations that have not even been born yet.
Go ahead.
Bro, you know who else he's talking about right now? Black people right here.
Boom. That's the whole point of why I'm doing this. But go on.
Nah, man. I mean, like it's simple as that. If you heard the video, then you heard that. But I'm just making sure everybody that heard that made the connection, man. Cause that's what happened to us. Cause I'll tell you, I mean, I'm ashamed of how long it took me. I mean, I knew about Martin Luther King, I knew about Harriet Tubman. You know who I didn't know about until I was a grown ass man with gray hair? Bass Reeves. You know who that is?
I don't know that name.
Man,
Not gonna
Bass
lie to
Reeves.
you.
You know what? I'm gonna leave it to you, man. You look that one up. But Bass Reeves was a bounty hunter. He was a I think a marshal even. I had to look it up, but he was one of the baddest men to ever hold a gun and walk the West. But also, I didn't know about the fact that there were entire towns, counties, judges. After the Civil War, there were whole ass black towns, dude. Didn't need shit
Yeah.
and got burnt the fuck down.
Yeah.
That part. I mean, like, I'm probably, I actually, I take for granted that you're familiar with it. But me, I learned about that about 5 years ago, bro. I'm almost 50 years old. And
Yeah.
that's exactly what he's talking about right now. I mean, of course he's talking about Africa, but he's also talking about black people.
Yeah.
Cuz I'm a machinist, right? And there is not a single machine shop in Texas, and I don't think there's many in the nation run by black people. So, a little tangent real quick into DEI. I'm actually not a fan of affirmative action. And here's why. Because it's a pacifier for what really needs to happen. Stop getting in my way when I start a business. Stop fucking with me when I get my shit together and start my shop. Because if there were more black owned enterprises that weren't just Ciroc or entertainment or social media, if there were more black owned industrial centers, a black man could just go get a job there.
Yeah.
You see what I'm
And
saying? Like if
and,
we
and
stop
that
racism at the source, then we don't have to fuck with. I mean, I
that
don't know
that's
about you.
why I don't like I don't know that integration was a good thing for black people in the United States. You know, you look at the sports is a perfect example. You know, the football players, the basketball players, they go and play for Texas, Oklahoma, you know, right? Miami in college,
Yep.
predominantly white schools. You have to go to a predominantly white school to have a chance to make it professionally in sports.
Yeah. So
And,
again, man, I mean, I'm gonna double down on that. You can have your DEI. Give me my money. You know what I'm saying? Give
you
me my
know,
liberty. I
one
I
of
don't. I mean, at the end of the day, I don't want to work for you.
the guy Sanders, I can't think of his name. I don't follow sports that much, but the
Shadur.
son,
I think
yeah.
his name was
So
Shadur.
one of the complaints, one of the things I heard people say was that he went to he went to a black college university. How do you say it? What's the proper term? Historical
Uh,
black college,
yeah,
HBCU,
right.
and that is a reason to not draft him because he's not around as much talent or whatever. And I'm like, what the hell?
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Hold on. Wasn't Shadur at Colorado?
But he transferred there. I want to say now, y'all
Oh, okay.
correct me, but I want to say he started off at a HBCU. So and a reason why they would transfer too, because they're not going to get seen. You're not going to get scouts. The scouts aren't ever going to see you unless you're at one of those schools. But anyways, I mean, we're getting off track a little bit, but it's like integration. I don't think it was a good move. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't, and begging for a job from these people who don't want to hire you is not a way forward for people,
Exactly.
simple as that. And Abraham Traore is like, bro, we don't need y'all for nothing. How about that?
Hey, but I tell you what though, they done messed up because they let me get in there for a little while. Because at first it was like, okay, yeah, you can come around and measure the stuff. Then it was like, I was watching the machines. I was watching the. I was I mean, just real quick, at 90 seconds. I started as a QC because I didn't want to kiss ass in an office no more. I was like, I can't teach my son how to do that. I need to learn how to do something, teach my son. So I went as a QC. It was a cheap job, but I knew it would get me into the industry. From there, I started watching the machines and figuring out how to do it, yada yada. After I felt like I might be able to stumble through it, I made this whole fake resume, bro. Lied lied through my teeth. Yeah, I can do that. Yeah, I can do that. And it took the next job I got like 6 or 7 months to figure out that I couldn't do it. But in those 6 or 7 months, guess what happened? I turned into a person that could do it. And I think it's real important, man, that if we find like a few youngsters that want to learn how to like work on cars, want to like, you know, work machines and stuff like that, like get them together, man. Because I'm about to buy a lathe. Now it's gonna be a little silly bench lathe, but if you could work a small one, trust me, the only thing you got to do to work a big one is respect the fact that it's heavy, and you got to be right or it'll fly off your machine and crush you, you know?
And kind of on the subject, I think about like Oprah Winfrey, or these really wealthy black celebrities, and they go and they build a school in Africa, and that's cool. That's cool. I'm not knocking it. I'm just saying why they don't do that here in the United States. You know,
Because they bought and paid for it, and they know if they put it way out there where it's going to get swallowed up by the rest, that it ain't going to matter, and the white man not going to mess with them here. That's how they did that. I'm telling you, man, Oprah Winfrey got enough money to educate the whole ass South. And the reason she ain't did it is because there's somebody white that she still really like and
you
really
know.
need.
Well, it's I don't know. The people that get elevated, they do it in a certain way to appease the powers that be, if you will, and then they just continue to do that as they go on. And it's like, but
Oh,
in their defense, if they don't go about it in that way, then they're gonna be derailed. There's so many examples of that happening.
and
If
then
if you
also you
go,
got the. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead. You
uh,
got it.
I'm just saying that if you don't go at it in the right way, then you're gonna meet roadblocks. You're gonna meet problems. You're not gonna be successful because the powers that be don't want those examples. And that's the same thing with Ibrahim Traore. That is, it flies in the face of the narrative that these people are corrupt, they're backwards, they have no culture, they're savages. They can't get it together because they're genetically inferior. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
So
you got that, and guess what else you got? Because I mean, like one thing I really like to do is I like to point. I like to look in the mirror a lot of times, and I get a little further away from the mirror. Sometimes I get on my high horse, but man, pointing it back at me, man, I was making like a pitiful ass $35,000 a year while I was looking down at Africa and it corrupt leaders.
yeah,
So I say that to say this, man. What about the brainwashing, dude? Like
yeah,
if I can make like a piddly, like yearly salary, and look down on what's happening in Africa, until I looked at it a little better with my real heart. Man, what's to stop Oprah Winfrey or Jay-Z or like Diddy from looking down on everybody else that ain't made it like they made it? Because all you got to do is try hard and make it. Like maybe they got brainwashed, man. Maybe they
Yeah.
maybe they really think that.
They really believe it. Like Candace Owens, she's one of those people who I think really do believe the stuff that she says,
I
Um,
do
I,
not believe she believes that.
I do. I really do. I think she's genuine. And, we have a lot of grifters that are, you can make a lot of money grifting, and just telling people what they want to hear. It'll get you a long ways, especially in this sphere where I am right now, creating content or whatever. The best way to do it is, whether you're on the left or the right, is to just like double down and tell the people what they want to hear, and don't give it any nuance, And,
Man,
and
I'm gonna
I
say
don't always
something.
agree with Candace Owens, but sometimes I do. And that she is genuine and believes what she says, and I don't know what made me bring her up, but
Man, look here.
let me
About
play some more
Candace
of this.
Owens. Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, let me play some more of this.
Under the rubble of your exploitation. Because what could have been created, what could have been discovered, what could have been achieved, it never gets a chance to exist. The mind of Thomas Sankara, the determination of Patrice Lumumba, the vision of Nkrumah, these weren't anomalies. They're the normal, natural, healthy state of a decolonized mind, of a liberated mind coming from a liberated people. They're examples of what Africa would have been, should have been, and inshallah still will be. But the West systematically crushed the conditions necessary even for normalcy to flourish. You see, you don't just kill the leaders when you kill the leaders or when you overthrow the leaders. You steal the future that those leaders could build. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the Quran, then you kill one person unjustly, it's as if you killed all of mankind. Well, that isn't just metaphorically true. In the case of the leaders that the West has destroyed in Africa, they also destroyed millions of lives along with them. Millions of living and unborn lives have been destroyed in terms of their hopes, their opportunities, their rights, their freedom, their independence, their sovereignty. Well, you can trace the carnage going on right now in Congo today, all the way back to the assassination of Patrice Lumumba. They assassinate the idea. They assassinate the man who represents us, so that future generations will look back and go, well, they tried and they failed, so we better not bother. It's psychological warfare across time.
And I was watching this video the first time, I was thinking that you can also go all the way back to King Leopold. And it's crazy because a lot of people don't know who King Leopold was, and the Congo and all of that. And I'm not going to go into all of the history related to that, except to say that, here in the West, we're told that, Hitler is the worst figure of history, and, we're not taught about, King Leopold. And I mean, there's other names that we can throw in that pot, but I think there's a specific reason why they, mention Hitler as like the worst person in history. He was killing Europeans.
Man.
He was killing Europeans. King Leopold was killing Africans, and the numbers do not compare. Like, I mean, people, there's an argument about how many Jews died in the Holocaust. And, regardless, whatever number you want to throw in there, it ain't nowhere near the amount of people who died in the Congo during the reign of King Leopold.
Speak.
It blows them all the way out the water. Millions of people,
You said a whole mouthful.
And it came down to the exploitation of those resources. What the connection, what people need to understand is that the world is connected. It's all connected. What was happening in the Congo, it wasn't called the Congo at that time. Anyways, regardless, I'm getting off track. But the rubber, it was about rubber, right? And they were cutting off arms and all of this and forcing the people to get the rubber. That was at the same time where we had the Industrial Revolution happening over here in the States, and the cars, all the rubber that was in those cars was coming from over there. So, you fast forward till today, you got the cell phones, electronic devices, and the main components in those are coming from the Congo today. The Congo should be Wakanda. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The Congo
Hey,
should be one of the richest countries. It is. It is one of the richest countries in the world. But the people that live there live in poverty. You got children and digging through the mines to get enough food, to come back to the mines tomorrow. You know, it's modern slavery.
bro. Hey, let
So
me bring that. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
go ahead. I lost my
Nah, I
train of
was
thought.
saying like bring that all the way back though, cause think
Oh
about it
yeah,
for a hot second, man. If you found it, I got it, cause I could put a pin in mine. Go for it.
go, go ahead. I was just thinking about the connection of the world, and that's what I was trying to get to. How what's happening on one side of the world affects what's happening in another part of the world, and how we're taught history, and the the way we're taught to. It's like we don't teach history properly. We don't tie it to geography. They teach us dates to remember and people's names and when they were born and when they died. And they don't teach us the context of what's happening in other parts of the world and how that influenced what's happening here and there or whatever. Like, we have this bad understanding of history because of the way it was taught. And, you know, it's a disconnect. It's like today with the tariffs and Trump. And so now we're getting a understanding that the world is connected, and that you can't just be like, I want to be an isolationist and still be vibrant and still have products and still have stuff. you know it 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 is a good idea. Trump is what Trump is doing. He's just doing it in the wrong way. Having manufacturing here in the United States is a good idea. But the world has changed. You got AI, you got these robots, you got this mechanization of manufacturing. Those old manufacturing jobs are never going to come back. And that also, not everybody was able to get those manufacturing jobs, and then they weren't good. I mean, they were good paying jobs, but it wasn't like you needed to have a college degree to get them. But you could also lose an arm, working on a machine. I don't know what I'm trying to get at. I'm trying to say that it takes solidarity. Okay, that's what I'm trying to say. Global solidarity of classes. For us to get the 5-day work week, people had to die. The
Right.
corporations,
Right.
the corporations weren't going to give that away. They, you know,
So
and we,
let me see if I can help you with that one. So you're right. The corporations weren't going to give it away. There was a whole status quo. Um, and thing the people were being swallowed by the purpose, right? And I think that what is happening right now is that the flow of information, they're not able to stop everybody realizing, hey, we could help the world. We could totally help the world. And then the American government decided about 30 years ago, no, the fuck you can't, because we're not going to pay you. As a matter of fact, we're going to make everything so expensive that your wife has to go to work and nobody's going to watch your kids. So pay for that shit too. And you know what? While we're at it, we're going to make sure your money's not worth as much as it was yesterday. So, yeah, you thought you were going to band together and give your extra money to the Congo? Well, guess what? You ain't got no extra money. How you like that? You're right. The world is coming together. And they are trying to make goddamn sure that we can't do anything about it. And when I say
Because that's
they,
how you
I mean
control.
every government in the world. All of them.
Yeah, they want their power. They want their control. They don't want to lose that. So you
So we
keep
go
people
back.
separated. They keep us fighting about cultural issues. They keep us fighting about, different religions, different racial backgrounds, different ethnicities. They keep us fighting about little issues that we disagree on, and instead of us looking at the stuff that we have in common, and wanting to move with that, we're at each other's throats. We're looking at our neighbor as an enemy, when it's these corporations is robbing you blind. I don't know. It's crazy. I'm trying to get to 7 minutes because I want to say he said something in 7 minutes in this video that I wanted to get. So let me play a little bit more of this and I'm going to move on because time is going by really quickly.
Because if you can make people believe that liberation is impossible, if you can make them believe that wanting sovereignty,
that's a good idea,
is naive, and that dignity is an unrealistic hope, then you don't even have to conquer them anymore. They'll remain conquered in themselves. And please understand, when we talk about people like Sankara, Nkrumah, Lumumba, Sukarno, we're actually just talking about the natural state of a decolonized mind. We're not talking about something extraordinary. We're talking about what's supposed to be normal, not exceptional, normal. They didn't have utopian visions for their countries. Like I said, they wanted their countries to be normal. But the West would not allow it. And back then, the West had the power to prevent it. The relative power, that's the key point. They had the relative power to prevent it. They had the relative power to steal Africa's future by prolonging its past by force. But as I've talked about many times, the West's relative power is receding. That old wolf, the global South, is raising some young lions of their own today. They're reviving the spirit of Lumumba and Sankara and Nkrumah. Your grip on Africa is being pried open. And yes, of course, I'm talking about Ibrahim Traore in Burkina Faso. And all the leaders in the Sahel Alliance countries, obviously, but especially Ibrahim Traore. It's often only in retrospect that we recognize the magnitude of a figure who shifts the course of history. It shifts the course of events in the world. But if anyone's paying attention, you can all see that Ibrahim Traore is clearly one of the most consequential leaders, not just in Africa, not just in the Muslim world, but in the entire global South and in fact, in the world. I said on X the other day that Ibrahim Traore is the most important Muslim leader in the world today, more than Erdogan, more than MBS, more than anyone else, because of what he represents.
Most important leader in the world right now. Let me show why that is true here, because it's about influence. So check this out. Ghana and Algeria signed landmark visa-free deal to boost African unity and economic ties.
Oh, hey, and on top of that, the Morocco, they've already started negotiating with Morocco for expedited access to their ports.
Yeah, and there's a country. I need to pull up the damn map, but there's a country
Hold on,
south.
I got you.
There's a country south of the of those Sahel countries that has a port that, because see, Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso are landlocked. And there's
Right.
a country south of them, and I can't think of which country it is. And they're
Oh, they
talking
got
about,
Cote d'Ivoire, Togo. Hold
I
on.
think it's not Togo. I
The
have to
Ivory
see it because the
Coast,
shape they Ivory Coast is the
Liberia.
west is got them, and Liberia too. But I'd have to see the shape of it, and then I would know which one it is. But it's it's talking about aligning with them, and it's gonna give.
Oh, Senegal.
Uh, is it
I heard
Senegal?
about. I think it's Senegal
And
because I heard them by name when I was watching the other video.
they're gonna they're gonna become a part of this, you know, alliance with Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso, and then that would give them access to the coast, and then that would like be revolutionary with them being able to ship. You know, Africa can just trade with each other. I was watching this video. Dang it, did I share that? Where they were talking about how, like, you know, one country produces a lot of corn and then they send it to somewhere outside of Africa, and another country produces a lot of this other product and they send it to outside of Africa, and they could just be trading with each other, you know. So, but basically, what I'm trying to get at right here at this moment is, you know, Ibrahim Traore is inspiring the rest of Africa to, you know, work together and build alliances and so forth and so on. So this one here says, in a powerful symbol of growing African cooperation, Ghana and Algeria have sealed a historic visa-free travel agreement that will allow citizens of both nations to cross borders freely. No paperwork, no consulates, no waiting. And that is awesome. This one right here. Botswana reinvest diamond profits into free education and healthcare for citizens. So it says, when diamonds were discovered in Botswana in the late 1960s, the country was one of the poorest in the world. Instead of selling mining rights to foreign companies entirely, Botswana's government made a smart move. They created a 50-50 partnership with De Beers called Debswana. This meant half of all diamond profits stayed in Botswana. But the real genius was just making money. It was how the money was used. Instead of the wealth going to politicians and leaving the country, Botswana invested it directly in education and healthcare. Primary and secondary school fees were removed, leading to one of the highest literacy rates in Africa. At the same time, Botswana built hospitals, clinics across the country, and became the first in Africa to offer free HIV/AIDS treatments for all citizens.
Well, let's go Botswana. Where is Botswana? Hold on. That made me
Let's
happy.
look at this one. It says, why Washington is worried about Burkina Faso's young revolutionary leader. Ibrahim Traore has kicked out French troops, defied U.S. pressure, and embraced Pan-African self-reliance. His revolution is reshaping Africa, and Washington is watching. I'm going to start moving fast because I want to kind of wrap this up.
What's happening in Burkina Faso must be supported. What's happening in Mali must be supported. What's happening in Niger must be supported. If you care the least bit about our future, how else are we going to get France out of Africa? How else are we going to get Britain, Germany, all those former colonizers? They're now in as multinationals.
She's speaking carefully.
Siphoning billions out of Africa, using safe havens to hide their returns. We know they're here. They are now wolf in sheep's clothing. I challenged ECOWAS when they were trying to mobilize the military to go and fight Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger. Oh, we can have a coup. I said, help me understand something. France has had coups against these nations. When France is forcing these countries to deposit their bank reserves with France, that's a coup. an economic coup. When France is making sure that all natural resources for these countries belong to France, that's a coup. But by and large, with the exception of Burkina Faso, Niger, and Mali that said, France, pack your bags and go home. The rest of the African countries are still subjected.
Yeah,
I think that's
when
pretty
he
good
told them
note.
they had French troops in Burkina Faso after the coup, and Traore was like, y'all gotta go. I was
Nah,
like,
he gave him a deadline.
whoa.
He gave him a deadline, man.
I was like, whoa, that is some gangster ass shit, man. That's superior gangster.
And
We promise to ban illegal and new mining activities in forest reserves and roll out our Tree for Life and Blue Water initiatives to heal and sustainably harness our environment. In the first 120 days, we've taken decisive action through a 5-pronged strategy to overhaul and sanitize the mining sector. This includes regulatory reforms and strategies of mining equipment, stakeholder collaboration, reclamation of degraded lands. 7 out of 9 forest reserves have been reclaimed. Illegal miners have been flushed out of these forest reserves. Concerning the ban on mining in forest reserves, on March 20th, 2025, a legislative instrument, LI 2462, was presented to Parliament to amend the Environmental Protection Mining in Forest Reserves Regulation. This amendment removes the President's power to grant approval for mining in forest reserves. I plan also to amend the Minerals and Mining Act 2003, Act 703, to completely prohibit mining in forest reserves. This would effectively, meticulously, legally, and entirely ban mining in our forest reserves.
So that's Ghana. And they're like, yeah, illegal miners, get the hell out. Let me see. What else did I want to hit before I get out of here? Hold on, y'all. Let me see. Yeah, I don't see it. We might have to do a part 2 of this. Did I have a news article I wanted to do? It was something that had a link to a news article. What was it? Was it this one? I kind of wanted to play the clip of the black guy who's all like, yeah.
talking about the general?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, nah, save that for next time. And because we're gonna go from that right into his ties with Russia and how those implications don't matter quite as much as everybody's trying to make it. What do you say?
Yeah, that sounds fair.
Cause bro, you told me you already told me, man. It's like it's going by a mile a minute. It's 11 at night.
Yeah.
Let's shut it down, man.
Yeah. Yeah, I
But
gotta
I
work,
tell you
man.
what, it's been an absolute pleasure, dude. This is my first time doing a little old podcast.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. I hope those that see it enjoy it.
Yeah. Yeah, man. It's hard for me to find time to do these shows now, man. I work 2 jobs now. I work at an elementary school during the day, and then I wait tables at night, and I literally don't have no days off.
I believe it.
So,
Hey, you want to take it offline real quick? We'll set it up for next time.
yeah.
Do a
We
little
need to do some
outro.
closing. Yeah, we need to do some closing statements about the whole thing. So it's like the connections between you know, African Americans, and not just African Americans, poor people in the West, in the United States, across Europe, and their connection to the struggles of the people in the global East, or the global South, however you want to say it, Africa, you know.
Well,
Uh,
it's pretty much anything that concentrates wealth, anything that allows the acceleration of that. So in America, we have um, the the deregulation and the basic free reign of an inhuman entity, which is the corporation. Because yeah, you have a CEO, and that's a human being. He got a family, he got blood, bones, and skin like we do, but he is beholden to a concept. Now you say shareholders. That sounds like people, doesn't it? It's not people. It's a game, and the only objective in the game is to run the score up. You see what I'm saying? So
yes,
so so in America it's the corporation, right? And in half of Africa, I don't know, at least a third of Africa, and I'm pretty sure it's most of Africa, but just to be safe, a third of Africa is suffering from a corrupt installed leadership that is doing the same thing as the corporation is doing in America. You know, it's
shout out. Let me shout out
it's
these people. Shout out living room viewing. He put, I don't know what he means by holy shit 5 prongs.
oh, that dude
And
was like a five-prong attack earlier. That was his whole thing. The guy from Ghana,
oh yeah,
he's talking about his plan. He's like, we got a five-prong attack. That stood out to me too, actually.
and Pat is here too. He said, "Is wealth bad?" What answer? What's your answer to that, Glenn?
The distribution of it. Like, do you have enough wealth to secure the future of yourself and a couple of generations before you? Then your wealth is good. Have you further endeavored to chop off thousands, hundreds of thousands of people so that your wealth can be increased? Oh, you know what? I'll answer his question specifically, his or hers. Wealth is not bad. Wealth is good. Greed. Greed is bad. That's what I got to say to that.
I think the way he was coming at it before is a bit better way to look at it. The way these corporations are set up, inhuman entities is what you said, and you know, people being beholden to these. It's this exponential growth, idea. It's sales over last year. It's last quarter earnings versus the next quarter earnings.
Yeah.
And being beholden to shareholders, like that's like the most important thing in the world. Like that's what matters more than life itself, is making sure that we make profit for the shareholders. And it's an excuse because you've got people who can run corporations without having that culture guiding their decision making. There's other ways that you can structure society, and I think that that's where we are at this point in human evolution, or human society, where we have to make a decision. Are we gonna continue with this model of exponential growth, or will we go back to actually the old ways, of leave it the way you found it, do no harm, you
I've
know
got I've
make,
got an
make
idea. maybe the new thing, don't grow it. Like I'm 5'8". I could stand to grow a little bit. But if I was 8'5", do I need to grow? Get it healthy and sustain it. And I know sustainability is a buzzword and I wouldn't dare, but let's roll back the packaging and the marketing, and let's throw away the word sustainability, and let's get it to where it works and control it. And I don't mean by controlling the people. I don't mean by controlling what you do in your bedroom. I mean control the flow of money, control the flow of resources. But yeah, stop growing it because it's a gorilla in a closet right now. It looks it looks funny. It looks grotesque. Like think about it for a hot second. Now we live in America. It's a prosperous nation, and Bezos being able to send rockets into space. That I mean, like it's cool. Like it's fascinating. I'm sure, but imagine your son doing that. What would you tell him? Hey, you know there's a lot you could be doing with that, man. That's what I'd be telling mine. So
Yeah,
yeah, like it's a matter of like we had to grow at first. You know, it was 13 little colonies on one side of a nation, and you know people were still hungry, and I'm sure we could have not sure. That's an understatement. I am absolutely certain, would swear on a stack of Bibles, that there was a better way to handle the expansion into the West. Um, but the idea that was America couldn't stay on the East Coast. It had to grow. But did it have to consume? Did it have to metastasize
yeah,
into the
cancer.
cancer that it is today?
Freaking, I just think that the focus needs to be on humanity. It needs to be on community. It needs to be on nature. It needs to be on. We fit within an ecosystem. We are not above it. Okay, the food chain, the water cycle, all of this stuff is it's the way the earth works. It's we can't go outside of that. You know what I mean? And this is what we forget. We live in these square boxes and we're separated from nature, you know, uh not in reality, in mentally, because when a natural disaster happens, we're reminded that we can't control the weather. You know what I mean? We can't stop earthquakes. You know what I mean? We can't stop hurricanes and tornadoes. And when that happens, it gives us a wake up call into reality that, we are part of this system. We're not above it. We're not separate from it. And with our economic system being in the way that it is, it doesn't put that into the equation when we're talking about shareholder profits. You
Hey,
can do worker co-ops. There's other ways you can do this. you know
listen, if the aliens came down to Earth right now and just evaluated our ecosystem, now, of course, they're aliens. They've got completely different ways of thinking, and their whole paradigm would be unfathomable, probably. But let's just say, for instance, they're carbon-based life forms, and they're somewhat similar to us, and they come by and they're advanced enough to travel from a realm that we couldn't detect them into ours, right? Like, let's just assume all that happened, and they did a quick evaluation. Dude, how would the human species be able to defend itself from an accusation of being a virus.
Mm. It's that quote from the Matrix where the guy was like, I'm trying to categorize the humans. And that's what he came up with. He was like, you guys are a virus. I was like, damn. That scene in that movie hit so hard. I was like, whoa.
For real.
Amarunji, he say, if you were a shareholder, you wouldn't think that entity is bad. Okay, I mean that's fair, but why? First off, the people who are shareholders are the same part of that class or that group. The extremely wealthy, the ones that benefit from it. The rest of us barely have stocks. If we do have stocks, the amount of money that we're making off of it is not anything that's going to really just like allow us to live off of it. And it's a parasitic type of setup where these people don't create anything, they don't produce anything, they don't do anything. They're living off the labor of others.
Well, I mean, so no system is perfect, right? So I say that from just not necessarily a scientific, but like I'm a I'm a relentlessly mathematical individual, and um, I have also the misfortune of being really fascinated with philosophy. And so philosophically, idealistically, like a lot of these things make sense to me, but the math doesn't math. And nothing's ever going to be perfect. And things like, you know, uh, resources and stuff like that, like there's going to be some inefficiency. There's going to be some people that are a little too rich, and there's going to be some people that are a little too poor. But the situation that we have right now is artificially skewed to to grotesquely inflate these two parts of the equation,
Mm-hmm.
you know? But yeah, no, there's always going to be some rich people, but like I mean just spitballing here. I think that if things were working decently, we would have some billionaires still. But we would not have hundreds of thousands of homeless people. We wouldn't have that.
Let me read
It's
this one.
it's
He says it's being a hater when you're upset someone else's growth. Wait, it's being a hater when you're upset at someone else's growth and it bothers you. Well, when it's
oh no.
parasitic, when it's eating up, it's not being a hater. I don't want to be ate. I don't want to be consumed. You know?
I don't know who this living room viewing is, but I think he handled them real quick. You got the chat going over there?
Yeah. Let me highlight the next one. He says, if it grows into a monster, it should bother anyone and everyone. Yeah. And that's what it is. It's a monster. So G says, describe what a monster is. He says, you know what a monster is? Why is his comments doubled up like this? He says, too rich. What happens to being an entity that offsets some of the monsters? Well,
This dude,
look at what our political apparatus is doing. Like you have these government agencies, like um,
well, I
Consumer
mean, that,
Financial Protection Bureau,
yeah, and
the
they're swallowing
National
those up. Like I don't know
Labor
what this dude is
Board.
talking about.
They
The entity that offsets some of the monsters, they getting cut down left and right now. What is that dude on about?
That's what I'm talking about. Like it's anything that's trying to level the playing field or just give you a chance. And I don't understand people who defend this stuff. Like these corporations, they have to be checked. These multinational conglomerates, they don't care about nationality. You know what I mean? They don't care about like fairness or giving a chance. We got these monopolies. They'll never be checked. Like you said, they're inhuman entities. So they aren't going to proceed in a fashion that is conducive to the human condition in a positive way. It's going to naturally behave in an insidious way, by its nature. So, I mean, if you want to have these corporations, then that's fine, but you have to have a check on their power, because if not, then in the future, it's already starting to get to that point where I think that these governments don't even really matter, bro. Like the corporations are running the show. So when it gets to the point where, Amazon is the government, and they decide on how your life lives, there's no check on the decisions of a Amazon CEO. And then you got the AI involved in control.
There's a couple of points for Europe, though, because you are absolutely right about that if you're talking about America. But Europe is actually suffering. They're actually suffering a tech vacuum because of how regulated they are. I was watching this, just like a little side note here, man. I was watching this video the other day where the guy was like, there's no tech giants. There's tech giants in China. There's tech giants in Southern Asia. There are no tech giants, not one, in Europe. And I won't say that it's overregulated, but it is the regulation. Because like think about it. Even in America, a lot of our like big tech great ideas, that person started the company, but they were not born here. They were born somewhere else, and they were like, if I start this company here, it's gonna be way too hard. I'm moving to America. So that's your give and take. But
there has to be a balance. There has to be a balance. So
well, there would be a balance if places like China and places like America were not so extreme. China, it just basically chokes its populace into doing what it wants, and it's hard to leave China. And America is so corrupt that, hey, you got a good idea? Is it going to make us look good? Okay, you can run ripshod over every law we have. And Europe refuses to do any of that. Now, if you didn't have places like China, if you'd have places like the US, then Europe would be that happy medium. But everything can leak out of there and go be horrible somewhere else, somewhere more globally influential, because China's got, I mean, it's only the second biggest economy it's not going to be the second biggest economy for long. I guarantee you that. So you got China doing that, and then you got the US. At the end of the day, man, all America is a wonderful blend of cultures, two incredibly defendable coasts, and more land than most of the rest of the world. It's all we are.
He says regulations is what stops a small guy from being able to get in the game. I think that's way too simple. That's a super oversimplification. And I would say the main barrier from people getting into the game is monopolies. They crush any real. We don't have a free market. They crush any competition. If they don't crush you, they buy you. There's no competition. So no, it's not regulations that keep the small guy from getting in the game. It's monopolies. He says a lot are born here, but they go to China because it's not too expensive to do business anywhere else. I don't know exactly what you're saying there. Anyways, man, let's go ahead and wrap it. It's 11:30. I gotta get up at 6 a.m. I gotta be to work at 7:15, and I won't be done till 10 p.m. because after I leave my morning job, I go directly to my night job, and you know, it's
Holy
it's
shit.
it's it's the state of the affairs in our world right now. You know, we're talking about Africa and talking about those people being poor or whatever, but over here in the United States, you got to freaking you got to work 80 hours a week to try to escape poverty.
Say it.
So, okay, we're the freest nation in the world. We're free to work all the time.
We are not free, bro. I mean, I don't want to even get into it, but you already know what I'm saying. I bet, and whoever is watching this already know what I'm saying. I ain't gonna explain that, but no, it's not free. It's not sweet, bro.
Yeah.
All right,
So,
but yeah, man, I'm gonna let you go, dude. This was fun. Well,
yes.
I don't want to say it was fun, but it felt worth doing. I'll tell you for sure.
Yeah. Well, thank y'all for listening. Thank y'all for joining. And peace and love.
Take it easy.